For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Hello and welcome to another Transformers video. So, today we were bombarded with news regarding the next live-action Transformers film, which is obviously the fucking stupid Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover. And, obviously, I mean, it's no secret that Transformers is my favorite franchise ever. Even though there are movies in it that I cannot stand, like Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and, The Last Night to an extent. But yeah, it is my favorite franchise because the highs of that franchise are so freaking high, but the lows are also very low. But of course, one thing that has remained consistent is that apart from the humans, obviously, the focus is on the Transformers because, they're the title characters. And with the Transformers Rise of the Beasts, obviously they were way too ambitious. They bit a lot more than they can chew. And they introduced too many characters and really forced what really should have been a trilogy of movies into one film. But it seems like now, because obviously with that film, with there being so many, Cybertronians, they were the main focus of the film, and the humans were very much like the side story. At least after the first half an hour. The first half an hour of the movie is pretty boring. Let's be honest. Anyone who rewatches Rise of the Beast, you're gonna watch the opening scene and then skip straight to the museum fight. You don't really care about anything in between. But yeah, so now it seems like introducing the GI Joe things into it. I don't know anything about GI Joe. I just know that they do terribly. That there's not been a successful GI Joe movie in years. And even though Rise of the Beast did, let's be honest, pretty crap at the box office, it like just broke even. And that's mainly because, first of all, the movie wasn't amazing. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. But also, it had a shitty release date. Being stuck in between Across the Spider-Verse and The Flash. The Flash being a movie that really not many people were going to see, but it was a topic of discussion given all the controversies. Rise of the Beast was just stuck in the middle. So now they decided to do a crossover between Transformers and G.I. Joe, and today we got a fair amount of news. First off is that Orion Pax himself, Chris Hemsworth, is going to be a part of this film. And of course, we can assume that he's probably going to be the main human character, the main Joe. I don't fucking know what they call this. Whole thing is just so stupid. This movie is dead, and I will explain why. But they did say, and by they I mean the absolute moron, the demon of the Transformers fandom, and that is Lorenzo de Bonaventura. Fuck you. He is just completely ruining the franchise. He's running it into the ground. And he's saying that this is going to be a small scale movie, which, when you had a movie like Rise of the Beasts, and then you have a freaking crossover event, you're not going to want that to be a small thing. Like, could you imagine Spider-Man No Way Home bringing in like Toby and Andrew, and then the villain they had to fight was Kingpin? Like, come on, man. Like, seriously? That's basically what it is. And that is what they're doing with this movie. They said they want like a maximum of 6 characters, which, you know, they're not going to have one Joe, which is Chris Hemsworth. They're going to have like 2, right? So that's 2 Joes. The Autobots is basically like, you got to have Optimus. You got to have Bumblebee. That's 2. They said they're going to have to put Mirage in after the love he got for Rise of the Beast. So that's 3. That's already 5 characters. So then, what is the other one going to be? Because I assume we're going to get a bad G.I. Joe person and the Decepticons teaming up, which means we're finally going to get Decepticons after Bumblebee. Thank God, I have missed them so much. But yeah, I find it quite funny that Chris Hemsworth is in this movie, given that he's literally going to be voicing Orion Pax in Transformers 1, which, by the way, I went to go watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes yesterday, and the first thing that they showed, as soon as the lights went off, the first thing they showed was the trailer for Transformers 1. So obviously that was pretty exciting. But the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer was the highlight. But another thing, which is really just not helping this movie at all, is the writer of this movie. He is the same person. I think it's a he. I don't know. I don't even know their name. This person wrote Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which I am not a Star Wars fanatic. Okay, it took me to 2024 to watch the Skywalker saga, just because I decided this year is going to be the year when I watch like all these ridiculous franchises. But yeah, I started with Star Wars, and so obviously that was a very unbiased opinion because I watched all the movies at once. The Rise of Skywalker was freaking terrible. Nowhere near as bad as The Last Jedi. But oh my god, the writing in that movie is atrocious. You can just see the pain in Oscar Isaac's eyes when he says somehow Palpatine returned. Like, for God's sake, man, it is just terrible. It's so bad. But I do know that whoever this dude is that's writing the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover, I know that The Rise of Skywalker wasn't all of his work, it was like parts of it. But he also wrote Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Well, I don't know why I'm just specifying that he wrote the Jurassic World trilogy, which Jurassic World writing was decent. I love Jurassic World. It's my favorite movie of all time, so I can't really criticize that in any way. Fallen Kingdom had a lot of cheesy humor in it, which I was not a fan of. But apart from that, it was okay. But then Dominion, the dialogue wasn't bad, but it's I'm okay. Obviously, he's the writer. He determines the story of the movie. Jurassic World Dominion, as much as I love that movie for what it is, I really love Jurassic World Dominion. Let's be honest, it should have been dinosaurs out in the wild, and we're gonna have to deal with them in the real world. Why in God's name would you completely ignore that and then take us to Biosyn Valley or whatever it is, which is basically just isolating the protagonist, which is like taking them to the island. But why? I can 100% understand people who hated Jurassic World Dominion, but I absolutely love it. I really, it's the most rewatchable out of all of them. Okay, well, behind Jurassic World is the most rewatchable, but then for me it's Dominion. It's not the best, but I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I don't really trust this guy with decisions, with like the general story, because I know for a fact that this dude so far has just deviated from what we want to see from the movies. Dominion, we wanted to see the dinosaurs in the real world. With this, he's 100% going to have like 80% of the movie focusing on the G.I. Joe characters. 100%. I just don't understand why it's so hard to get Transformers back to the way that it was. Because the Bayverse, while obviously a lot of people really did not like the Bayverse for what they did with the actual characters of Transformers, you can't deny that they were really, really enjoyable action movies. And that's the thing, that even like the worst ones like Revenge of the Fallen and The Last Night, they still had some good action sequences. Rise of the Beast, it felt very empty. It wasn't badass. And the character, obviously, if it's not going to be badass, then it should be at least be a good movie. It was just very messy in terms of the story. The characters weren't that fantastic. And yeah, I don't trust this man with another quote unquote Transformers movie. The concept in itself is just crap. Transformers hasn't even gotten back on its feet. If anything, it's fallen below where it was in recent years. And I think that it's entirely Lorenzo's fault, by the way. It's entirely his fault. This man doesn't know what the fuck he's doing with this franchise. because he keeps calling this new timeline a prequel. Really, Lorenzo? Really? Are you that fucking thick in the skull? But yeah, he's like, oh, people have been wanting the Joes in these movies for years. Who the fuck have you been speaking to? Because it wasn't Transformers fans, I'll tell you what. What we want is Transformers. Autobots versus Decepticons, no matter the faction. We just want Transformers. It's not hard to ask for. Oh, God, I'm so sorry for the rant. That was just ridiculous. But yeah, I say this as somebody who has loved Transformers for a very long time, but I really don't see that how this can be saved. I think that this movie is completely doomed, and the future of this franchise is relying on Transformers 1, because I don't see any way that this movie can be good, because again, this is literally just an excuse to bring GI Joe into like the 2020s, because the last movies have done shit, and they are just piggybacking off of Transformers, a franchise which hasn't even found its footing yet. So yeah, please let me know your thoughts on this whole thing. Um, are you okay with it being the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover? I know obviously it's very late to ask that, but yeah, please let me know what you would do with this movie, because I'm already seeing comments that are going to have a better story than whatever this writer is going to cook up. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.